All right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome. Today we're going to talk about ratios. And we're going to start off by some dice. So we're going to start with some dice. So I have some red dice, and some white dice. I think I have just too many in my hands. So let's try again. I have red dice, and I have try it again. I have some white dice and some red dice. So I'm going to put them down and we're going to look at the white dice and the red dice. And clearly you see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 red dice and 1, 2, 3, 4 white dice. So how would we write that? We are going to compare red to white. Okay, we're going to compare red to white dice. So there are 3 ways to write that. So the first way is we do 6 to 4, right? You remember? 6 to ugliest 4 ever. There we go. 6 to 4. All right. And then another way is number 6. So we say ... 4. And the last way is as a fraction. So 6 over 4. 6 over 4. So you guys remember that? I know you all do. All right, so now let's look at another one. So we have squares to circles. So how would we write those squares to circles? So we have squares, which is 4, and circles is 3. Okay. So the one way we would write it, just like we did up here. So 4, 2, 3. We can always write it as 4, 2, 3. And the last way is as a fraction, 4 over 3. Okay. Same thing. All right, so pretty simple. So now we did ratio tables. Remember we did ratio tables? And we compared the ratios, and then we would create these tables for them. So looking back at our squares and our circles, remember we had 4 squares for every 3 circles. So to do the ratio table, we make the cheat chart, okay? And we start off as 4 to 3, and then we would just add 4 every time. Add 4, right? So we would have 8, 12, 116. I remember some of you were really good at this. And then on this, we would add 3 to each one. So that would be 6, add 3, 9, add 3, 12, right? And that would be our ratio table. And this is important because, for example, if we would do a recipe, and let's say we were doing, like 2 batches of cookies or 6 batches of cookies, we need to know how many half cups of flour, or how many cups of butter we need, right? So these are good to have for measurements. Okay, so let's look at an example. So we have Abby, go figure, is making cookies. So she needs to fix 4 dozen. So each dozen requires 1 bag of chocolate chips. So what is the ratio for the amount of cookies per bag of chips? So we're going to create a table, and we're going to have up to 5 dozen cookies. So let's put this up here so we have our information, okay? And we need another board here. And we're going to create our table. And feel free to do this in your math notebook. My washer's in. So we have, it's really not. So we have our ratio would be cookies. We need cookies. It says amount of cookies to chips. Okay, bags of chips. Okay, so cookies to bags of chips. So we know that cookies, I need to make this a little bigger because I don't like how little that is. So we have cookies and bags of chips. Okay, so we know that the cookies is a dozen. You guys remember how many's in a dozen? 12, you're right. So I have a dozen. So I know it looks like there's 3 columns, but here's 1 dozen, 2 dozen, 3 dozen, 4 dozen, and 5 dozen. Okay, but we know that that's 12. So we have our bags of chips. So we need 1 bag of chips for every dozen of cookies, right? Every 12 cookies. So we have 24 cookies. We need 2 bags of chips. So all we're doing is we're adding 1 here, adding 1. That's our pattern. Here we're adding 12, right? So 36, 48, 60, 83, 4, and 5. Okay. So our ratio for our up to 5 dozen cookies. So we would need 5 bags of chips, and she would make 60 cookies with our 5 dozen. So our ratio here would be 12 to 1, or 12 to 1, or 12 to 1. So for every dozen or for every 12 cookies, she needs 1 bag of chips. Those are gonna be good tasting chocolate chip cookies too. All right. So if you have questions, send me an email. Like I said, this is all ratio review. You have an exit ticket. And other than that, enjoy your day.